your head, then you're going to be live.
Okay. Fingers crossed. Okay. Sorry for the wait, everybody. Good evening. We had some technical difficulties. Welcome. We'd like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. My name is Allison Birch. I'm the president of Syosset Council of PTAs. I would like to thank Sue Kessner, our council committee chair, and Mary Beth DeCino, our council VP. Tonight is Know Your Candidate night, and we'd like to thank Alana Lavolt. You can't see her, she's there. She's worked very, very hard on the live streaming. And she got it up and running. So thank you very much, Alana. The purpose for this evening is to meet and question the 6 candidates that are running for the 3 positions that are open for the Syosset School Board of Education. The voting day is Tuesday, May 18th. Polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Nassau Region PTA will be moderating this evening. We would like to thank and introduce them. Kimberly Bell is here this evening. She's the moderator. Kimberly, if you can give a little wave. And we have Sonia Dixon, who will be our timekeeper. I would like to welcome and thank all the candidates for being very patient. And Sue Kessner will introduce them all. Thank you all.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Our ballot numbers are selected randomly. So our candidates are Brian Greco, Shani Park, Dr. Rob Sharma, Mitchell Lieberman, Lisa Koshia, and Lynn Abramson. Please note, if you have any questions, you can type them into the chat feature in the live stream. Thank you so much and enjoy the forum.
Hi, good evening all. Thank you on behalf of Nassau Region PTA. We'd like to thank you for being here this evening. To the Syosset School District, thank you for having us to come and to facilitate this process with you all this evening. And to all the candidates, how wonderful for all of you to want to step up, stand in the gap, and be there for your children and the community. So good luck to all of you. Best wishes to all of you for this evening. Thank you. Sonia is here. She's already been introduced as our timekeeper, and just make sure you keep your eyes on Sonia. And so we won't prolong the evening any longer. We're going to go to have opening statements by our candidates. And we're going to begin first with you, Brian.
Thank you, Kimberly. Hi, I'm Brian Greco. I'm a 14-year resident of Syosset. I'm a father of 4 children. I've got 3 at Robbins Lane. I've got 1 at HBT. For those of you that don't know me, a little bit about my background. I studied finance in college. I worked in financial compliance. I took a job at the SEC, luckily a 9-to-5 job. I went to law school at night while I was there. And I spent some time, about 12 years at 2 big Manhattan firms. I did Chapter 11 reorg work, Enron, WorldCom, all that fun stuff, and decided I wanted to move my practice to Long Island when my kids were born and started to grow up. So I found a spot on the island, sort of a Long Island office of a New York firm. And I've been there for 7 years now. And, obviously it's the reason I changed up my career to be closer to home and be more involved in school. And that sort of brings me where I am today. I've also got an experience that I never thought I'd get, which is representing small businesses, a lot of local businesses, a lot of contract transactional matters, litigation, things I didn't do a lot of in the old days, and representing a lot of municipalities, a lot of boards, things that are pretty relevant to, this position I'm running for. So, this is the boring stuff. So I guess, the more interesting stuff, I guess, for many is I love coaching. I have been coaching for 10 years, youth sports. I've got 3 teams right now in the Syosset Soccer Club. I spend a lot of time at Stillwell, assuming that's going to come up today. My knees pay for all of that running around at Stillwell. But I absolutely love coaching. If I have home games, you could probably see me there 5 or 6 hours every Saturday and Sunday. So come over and say hi. But I also like to get involved in the PTA. I know that's a little strange sometimes from a dad. sort of funny story. My wife's upstairs, so I don't know if she'll hear me. But when my oldest was in, I guess, kindergarten, she was serving lunch, and I would leave work every day for her to do that. And I realized if I'm going to come all the way home during lunchtime, I want to serve. So I started serving, and I did that, I guess, when he was in first grade. And she'd get a sitter to serve, and I'd do it on my own. And then I took that into coordinating, and then I took over the program and chaired it with someone else, and it was wonderful, and I miss it dearly. So that's sort of what I'm about. And those are the things I think I offer to the school board. I have a lot of experience both in the community and professionally, and I like to be able to give that back. I mean, I obviously moved here like many for the district, and I see so many opportunities to improve and make this a wonderful place to live and a wonderful district to send our kids. And I've got 4 of them, and my youngest is in kindergarten now. So I'm fully vested for the long haul, and I'll do everything I can as a board member and representing you. And I think I saw my stop. So thank you, Sonia. That is an excellent way of doing this.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you so much. Thank you for being conscious of the time. And so next we're going to hear from Shani with opening statements. Shani.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shani Park. And first, I want to thank Kimberly and Sonia for moderating this forum, as well as my colleagues in Syosset Council PTA who have endless dedication and willingness to serve the community. I also want to thank all of you guys for being here tonight. I grew up in Hicksville, went to schools at Stony Brook, Harvard Dental, and finally Columbia for my orthodontic residency. For the past 20 years, I've been a sole practitioner at 2 different offices and teach at Columbia. I enjoy sharing my knowledge with the residents and dental students just as much as I enjoy working with younger children at home and in my private practices. Being a teacher challenges me not only to keep up with new findings, but also to continually refine my communication skill so that my students feel challenged and motivated. 5 years ago, I joined the LIJ and their cleft palate team at Cummins. We have done some amazing work with children born with craniofacial deformities and changed the lives of deserving children and their families. This kind of work involves many talented and dedicated people: plastic surgeons, ENTs, speech therapists, occupational therapists, pediatric dentists, orthodontists, oral surgeons, geneticists, nurses, many people, social workers. And the cleft palate team, it gives specialists from many different fields a chance to stretch outside our normal circles and come together as a team to make the best treatment goal for each child. For the past 15 years, I've been active in our community and in our PTA, and I've been very lucky to have had so many opportunities to learn from our local leaders. Now that my oldest has graduated from Syosset High School, and my middle one is 11th grade, and my youngest is graduating from Bayless, I'm ready to take all my experiences as a parent, a PTA member, a camp director, and a doctor focused on school-aged children, and use it to help Syosset to continue as one of the best school districts in the country. My experience has taught me to listen to everyone and in all sides in order to truly understand each situation and to work through differing opinions to find common ground and create opportunities to come together. In Syosset, I believe we have many opportunities to cultivate our common ground. We all love Syosset. We want it to succeed, and we want what is best for our children, and we want to pay less taxes. We have more things in common than not. I believe when people come together to achieve the same goal, we can achieve more than any one person can achieve. And I believe that I have the skills and experience to unite people to make the best decisions for our children and our community as a trustee. Thank you.
Thank you, Shani. And now to you, Dr. Sharma. We're ready to hear from you.
Thanks, Kimberly. My name is Rob Sharma, and I'm happy to be here. I want to wish everyone a happy Cinco de Mayo. Happy to have all our candidates here talking tonight. And my family and I lived in the district for 10 years now. We have 2 boys. They're both in the high school. So I've gone through all the phases of Syosset baseball and coaching with them and all of those things. And now they're getting ready to get ready for college. But we've had a great time in the district. And I will say this, that the last year was very challenging for all of us. It was especially challenging for those of us in healthcare. And I know this because I'm currently the chief medical officer at and executive vice president at Mount Sinai South Nassau. And last year, what happened was that many Nassau County school districts were in need of medical direction. Winthrop had provided that for many years, and they decided they did not want to do that any longer. So in response, I established the Center for School Health at Mount Sinai South Nassau. And one of the districts that we serve is the Syosset Central School District. It was in this way that I began to really work closely with the school district. And first, I established drive-up testing with Dr. Rogers' help at the high school. And that was for the students, teachers, and for the athletes also, for athletic testing. And then we held a vaccination pod for the teachers and the staff. And then most recently, we've been holding vaccination pods for the students. Very excited, hopefully, that we'll get FDA approval to hold the vaccination pod for 12 to 15-year-olds starting next week. So looking forward to that. But it was based on this experience working closely with the school district that I decided to run for the school board so I could continue to contribute to the health and wellness of our children and the staff. For me, one of the highest priorities is getting back to in-person instruction safely. And I partnered with my running mates to create a balanced slate of candidates, each of whom will bring important experiences to the table. Mitch Lieberman is a community leader with an entrepreneurial background, and Lynn Abrahamson has business experience and is very involved with the school and the community. When you look at the Syosset school budget, it's approaching $250 million. This is a very large number. And I want to suggest that I have experience in this because I work at a hospital where I'm responsible for a $600 million budget. I help them manage $400 million in capital improvements and work with over 3,700 staff members. So I believe that I can bring some unique qualifications to the board and work closely with them. Also, as a member of our management team at the hospital, I report to a board. So I've been on the other side of the table and certainly understand the experience that the management team has dealing with the aspirations of the board and reality. So I'm hoping that this will all come together to provide our board with a much needed experience and a unique set of skill sets that would be beneficial to our community and our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. And we now turn to you, Mr. Lieberman.
Good evening. My name is Mitchell Lieberman. First of all, thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you, everybody involved. I understand volunteer work. I understand the countless hours people put into it. And sometimes it goes underappreciated. So I just want to let you know that I truly appreciate what you guys have done tonight. And thank you, Dr. Sharma, and for saying such nice things. And I'll just start by saying this, to be quite honest with you. I had originally wrote out a canned little speech tonight because obviously it's my first year running for a school district over here, school board. But listening to the opening candidates, I decided that I was going to throw that away. So I'm going to just give you a little background about myself. I think it's a lot better than the written format. I grew up in Queens. I grew up in Forest Hills, Queens, and I guess when I went to college, I went to Queens College, and it seemed like year after year, I would slowly move closer to the island. I moved from Little Neck, moved to Roslyn, and then we, landed up in Syosset, where I met my wife, Tara, who is an alumna of Syosset, graduated from Syosset High School. And, we began our life out in Long Island. I could tell you I have 3 kids in this school district. I'm very fortunate to have had all 3 kids go to village school at one point, where Mr. Casper was a principal. Unbelievable gentleman, one of the best principals I think I've ever met, who's retiring this year. We have 1 child in middle school, 1 child in high school. I have an import business. I spent about 15 years doing an online furniture company, which I founded back in the late 1990s. I'm also the president of Syosset Baseball. And, what we teach over there, and I say teach because the coaches are in effect teachers, and we teach a lot of things to these kids. We teach them about leadership. We teach them about teamwork. We teach them about the virtues of character, courage, and loyalty. And, you know, during this past season with the pandemic, I have to be honest, when we got through that season and I talked to the parents and I saw what an impact we had in their lives, I was really inspired at that point. And I knew that I could do more for our community. So I'm very much looking forward to being a part of this board. And I can tell you, Dr. Sharma and Lynn Abramson, it was not an accident. We came together, we spoke to each other because we truly complement each other. And, you know, obviously what he said about Lynn and myself, Dr. Sharma is, you know, an amazing gentleman. Lynn is, I think, you know, Lynn is very involved in this community and we all share the same values. And that's why we're here together on this ticket. And thank you. I did see the stop sign.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lieberman.
Sure.
And now we're going to move to Ms. Koshia. We're ready to hear from you.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Lisa Koshia. I have been a resident of Syosset since 2007, along with my husband and 3 children. For those of you who don't know me, I was born and raised in Queens, New York. I graduated from St. Francis Prep High School and began my college career at Queens College in Flushing, where I graduated with a bachelor degree in arts. I then went back to school and completed a master's degree in education from St. John's University and began working as a middle school teacher. Eventually, I moved to the elementary school level. I taught in Queens for over 10 years and absolutely loved my job. My career path took a slight detour, and I became co-owners with my husband of a local expediting business where we deal with preparing architectural plans and obtaining building permits for residential and commercial properties in both Nassau and Suffolk counties. We also invest in various real estate opportunities as well. It was through this aspect of our business that I decided about 4 years ago to get my real estate license. I believe that I bring a unique set of skills to this board. My degrees in both theater and education, along with my 11 years of classroom experience, will allow me to help the board to make important decisions that affect the curriculum as well as the extracurricular programs that our exceptional district has to offer. The fact that the current board does not have any members serving with educational experience was actually quite concerning to me. On the other hand, my experiences as a woman business owner in the permit, expediting, and construction field allows me to not only help to manage a large-scale budget, but having knowledge of architectural plans and materials will help me to ask the right questions, especially as we move forward in the district with infrastructure repairs and construction projects and possible real estate deals. Here in Syosset, we hold ourselves to a standard of excellence. We need a board who is committed to setting the direction of our district's future. We need to look at our present budget and expenses and see how we can continue to provide the education and services that we have come to expect while being fiscally responsible. To be effective, the school board must work with the community and school staff to create a safe and nurturing learning environment for our students. I want to support the progress and success that this district has already achieved, while looking ahead to help further the opportunities and paths for both our students as well as for our community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Koshia. And lastly, for opening statements, Lynn, we are ready to hear from you.
Good evening, members of the Syosset community. First off, I'd like to thank Dr. Rogers and the board for their tireless efforts, keeping the safety of our students, teachers, and staff paramount during an incredibly challenging and unprecedented year. You creatively found ways to celebrate and remind each of us that good things are constantly happening in the Syosset community. My background is in business and marketing, and in recent years, I've worked in an early childhood center, but tonight I'm here as a parent. My husband, Josh, and I have 3 boys. Our oldest, Noah, is in 7th grade at HBT, and Owen and Cooper are in 4th and 1st at Bayless. We were a proud village family until we recently moved to Bayless. My boys are all different. They have unique needs, interests, and capabilities. Josh and I have often said how thankful we are that we are here to watch our children grow and progress through the school system. Our questions and concerns have always been addressed with experienced answers and thoughtful dialogue and feedback. As a board member, I want to play an active role in bringing our children, faculty, and staff back into the schools full-time in the safest way possible. Our buildings must be prepared to address the social, emotional, and educational needs of our kids. Our community was not immune to the loss of life, income, or the feeling of security we once had. By providing proactive support systems within the school, we have the ability to help all children progress as we move forward through this time. Children who feel safe and happy learn better, score better, and thrive. Syosset standards of educational excellence are among the highest in the state. Innovation and progress are imperative to raise already gold standards of programming and education, but we must be doing it in a value-driven and fiscally responsible and transparent way. Transparency and discussion in all things builds trust among community members, and the Board of Education should be the ultimate symbol of that. The diversity in the Syosset community is special and should be celebrated. In a world where it sometimes feels like our differences can divide us, we need to take every opportunity we can to learn about the different cultures, backgrounds, philosophies, religions, and that enrich our district. Everyone deserves a voice. We're a thriving, growing, and changing community. Syosset has always endeavored to provide the best of everything for our children. To do so, we need to ask ourselves the following questions. Are we giving our youngest learners opportunities to play and problem solve? Are we encouraging middle learners to make mistakes and learn from errors? Are we preparing our oldest students to enter the world of higher education and work with all the tools necessary for success? These questions can help guide the decisions we make together as an invested and involved community, and the questions I plan to ask if elected. Thank you for your time, and please come out and vote for Sharma, number 3, Lieberman, number 4, and Abramson, number 6. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you for your opening statements. And now the next portion of this process is going to be moved into questions. These questions have come from members of your community, and there were several themes throughout. They were generous in submitting questions. So thank you, members of the Syosset community, for your questions. I have combined some, and I hope that you all will share your thoughts to your members of your community regarding the questions. So with questions, we're going to begin back with Brian for question number 1. And so let's go. We ready, Brian?
Sure am.
All right. So what prompted you to run for the school board? What unique experiences do you have that differentiates you from the rest?
So I'll try this backwards and hopefully get it in on time. What differentiates me? I mean, to be honest, I have been on many boards before. I also represent boards, and we have a 9-person board in Syosset. One of the hardest things to do when you have a 9-person board is to keep it unified, but still allow all 9 of those people with all 9 of their experiences to come together. And it really takes leadership to do that. And I feel like I'm very, very well equipped for that role. And I mean, not that I always ask the right questions or not that I know everything, but the role of a board member is to, pull up their shirt and say, pull up their shirt. What a wonderful analogy there. So the point is, I can use my experience on boards. I can use my ability to roll up my sleeves and look into everything and learn. So if it's something related to education, where I don't have an education background, I will spend the time and do everything necessary to learn it and listen to the others to come to the best possible decision. Why I'm running? There's many reasons I'm running, but after all the years of being involved in the PTA and learning about how this district runs from PTA, from coaching, I felt like I had, a skill set that is not a part of our board now, not just in the leadership category, in my finance background, in my government background, the fact that I spend my days asking hard questions. I spend my days now on Zoom, but normally in a courtroom. And I feel like I can bring all those things to the table. And that's the reason I'm running. Thank you.
Thank you. Shawnee, I'll ask the same question of you. What prompted you to run for the school board? What unique experiences do you have that differentiates, I'm sorry, I'm messing up that word tonight, that differentiates you from the rest, that makes you different from the rest? I don't know what's going on.
Okay. Well, Syosset population has changed dramatically. 2014, the Asian American enrollment was 28%. 2018, it jumped up to 38%. In mere 4 years, 10% increase in Asian population. And I believe that it is time for more Asian Americans to step up and take on the role of the leadership and partake and spend our energy and time and get involved. That motivated me to step up and join this wonderful team of BOE candidates. What differentiates me from others is my experience of living different things. I came here as a 1.5 generation. I came to this country when I was 8th grade. I know what it is like to be different. I know how I had to overcome that difficulties. And I have, through that difficult time that I lived, I have gained this special skill of listening to exactly what people are saying. It's not just what is told, what is said, but actually the meaning behind things. When somebody's asking for something, sometimes they're saying things that they don't really mean, but there is a different higher purpose. And I've learned this technique of in understanding people. And I think that is what we need in our community right now. In board, we see many of the things, topics that are being brought up, and it becomes like a trauma, but we don't really have a good resolution. And I think I'm bringing a skill that we can come together and find the common ground and the reason for what we are talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Shani. Dr. Sharma, we are at you. Do you need me to repeat the question? You have to come off mute.
No, I'm good with the question. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
I did answer part of that question in my opening comments, and certainly I'm happy to review them. We were very happy with this district. We're very happy with the work the board has done. This last year provided very unique challenges, unprecedented challenges. And clearly there were really no one on the board that was prepared for this. And we saw this in March when we went to complete virtual. We did a great job in September with return to school, but in March we didn't do a very good job. I don't think, at least there was a mixed experience for both of my sons. And I felt that being involved with the board the way that I've been with the school district rather this last year, that I could continue to contribute. We've heard about education and people's experience with education. I didn't mention this in the opening, but I'm also a professorial lecturer at George Washington University at the School of Public Health, and an associate professor at the School of Medicine for Northwell Hofstra. And I work closely with a lot of students and do a lot of teaching. Now, this is mostly master's level and above. So these are adult learners, which are different. But working with students and working with the community is important to me. And I feel that this opportunity that of the empty board seats, the availability for people to step up and represent their community, certainly represent what we want for our students and our children. And my focus has been on health and wellness, and that's what I'd like to differentiate myself from other members of the board that I hope to bring to this board and to the community. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Mr. Lieberman, we're up to you. You need me to repeat the question?
Sure, if you don't mind, because I think the first part was.
Sure. What prompted you to run for the school board? And then what unique experiences do you have that separates you from the rest?
Okay. I think one of the things that prompted me to run for the school board, as I mentioned before, I'm the president of the baseball league that has over 950 families. And last March was one of the most challenging times in my house, and I'm sure in many of our houses, as we woke up each morning and we heard virtual learning on those computers and we couldn't leave the house. It was a very scary time for many people. I led the charge, even though we missed our season. I said, look, There's a summer season, kids are not going to camp, and let's go out and let's play. What makes me different is, number one, I am not afraid to stand up when there's 7 hands that say no. I'm not afraid to be the one hand that says yes. I've been told I have leadership capabilities. I'm not a doctor. We have a lot of doctors here, and I have a lot of respect for all the doctors and the medical field and all the people that bring different backgrounds. What I bring is I bring entrepreneurship, I bring leadership. I started a business right out of college. My business started with 1 employee, and like many people, I slowly grew that business to the point that we had 24 people on staff. We reached the Inc. 500, number 35 on the fastest growing list, and I did this from scratch. So I'm very capable of leading. I'm very capable of being part of a board that listens. To me, transparency is very important. Listening to the people, listening to the community. I graduated with a degree in psychology and business. I learned to talk to people. I learned to hear their input, not just listen to it, but hear their input and actually react and take it in. So I do believe that I'm uniquely qualified to be on this board to add value to some of the missing components. And I think there's a lot of great talent on that board currently as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Koshia, would you like me to repeat the question?
If you don't mind, thanks.
I do not. I don't mind.
Thank you.
What prompted you to run for the school board, and what unique experiences that you have that make you stand out and separate you from the rest?
Okay. I think what prompted me to run for the school board was the period of time where I found out that there weren't any educators presently serving on the board. I think that is a very important element. I believe we should have a diversified board that represents the community as a whole. I think that the voices in the board should be representative of the community. And one important aspect is education. And I think that's what actually prompted me to run. We all want the best for our children. We want the best for the students in this district. I think what differentiates me from other candidates is my education background. My background in education is imperative. It will help me to make the best decisions for this district. I also have a background in theater because my undergrad degree is in theater, and because we have so many different programs that we offer through this community outside of education, I think that could be a helpful tool that I could offer. And then I also have my construction, real estate, expediting business that my husband and I run that I think could be very helpful within other aspects of this district as far as what's been happening with the construction on the infrastructure, the buildings and whatnot. I think I have effective leadership skills. I have the ability to ask questions when I'm not sure about something. I can take those questions, I can make notes on it and make educated decisions based on then what I've learned.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And please forgive if you can hear my barking dog in the background. This is the thing. Oh gosh. Lynn, we are ready to hear from you. Would you like me to repeat the question, Lynn?
Oh, I'm okay.
Okay, thank you.
Being 6 has its advantages. I know the question. I am motivated to join the board because of things I've said in my opening. I'm a mother of 3 vastly different children, one of them who has medical issues and food allergies. They all have different learning capabilities and interests. I have chaired boards for the early childhood center my children attended, as well as years of volunteering in the PTA and being involved in the community. I have some experience in education as an assistant in an early childhood center for about 3 years before COVID, when I was forced to take a leave of absence from that. And I have a business background and years of experience in product development, manufacturing fiscally responsible products and finding creative ways to reach the community. Joining the Board of Education is my goal is to continue the growth of the programming and educational excellence that we have in Syosset. There's an emphasis to me on social emotional learning, diversity, inclusion, transparency is of the utmost importance. Anything I don't know, anything that people come to me with, I'm always willing to listen and learn and grow. And I think that I would be an asset to the board in that aspect.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Thank you to all. We're getting ready to move to the second question, and Shani, you're going to respond to the question first. How would you advocate for children who learn differently? And what are your ideas to bring new opportunities and support to benefit all children? Would you like me to repeat the question once more?
Yes, once more.
Okay. How would you advocate for children who learn differently? And what are your ideas to bring new opportunities and support to benefit all children?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So my oldest child is amazing. He can do everything by himself. He's so motivated. He will not stop until he achieves his goal. My second one is a rule follower. He listens to teachers' guidelines. He will follow everything to the T. If the teacher says, write this down for 10 times, he will write it down 10 times. And my youngest one has a very different learning style. I'm thankful for Syosset for having IEP, helping kids who need different style of learning. Our Syosset School District has resources that's amazing, providing, and teachers recognize and provide the services for the children. And I'm so thankful that this advocate for children are already put in place. And the new opportunity and the support that I would like to investigate would be children who are doing well, learning well in a normal situation. We have that covered. But children who are struggling with virtual learning, however, they can't come to school for whatever the reason, there are some of the things that we can do better in supporting that. As I see, as my youngest one is all virtual, the teachers, they are unable to see the work that they're doing right now unless they're on Chromebook. So those will be the support that I would like to see improvement. But I believe what we have already, as long as the teachers are watching and the communication between the parents and the teacher, it's already excellently set up, I believe.
Thank you. Dr. Sharma, we want to hear from you next.
Great. Could you repeat the question, Kimberly?
I sure can. How would you advocate for children who learn differently? And what are your ideas to bring new opportunities and support to benefit all children?
Great, thank you. So one of our two sons has a learning disability. And so my wife and I have been advocating for him for his entire life. We've worked very closely with people and personnel services. He has an IEP. We've been working very hard on making sure that his educational needs are met. Similarly, there are many other children who have similar learning disabilities or various learning disabilities. And we would work closely with the school, learning what we've learned over the last 16 years, helping these students be able to access educational models that might use technology, that might use peer learning techniques, that might use specific resource utilization. So the school has a robust program. I agree with that they certainly have a robust program for students with learning difficulties, but I think they can do better. And I would work with the board to construct models of education that are consistent with best practices in the country and to be also innovative. We can also try things that may not have been researched, but certainly we can try things based upon trial and error of the past, and give our students the best opportunity to learn, and give our children the best opportunity to be socially and emotionally well developed, so that there's good growth opportunity for everyone. And I think that to that point, teaching early on in education about learning disabilities to other kids is paramount to helping level the playing field. Because when kids are called stupid, or when kids are called any of those other hateful names, it's very hard for them to learn. So creating a safe environment for our children to learn is also paramount to me. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Mr. Lieberman, we are ready to hear from you again. Should I repeat the question for you? You got to come off of mute.
Sorry about that. No, I got it. I'm good.
Okay, thank you.
So, our schools are here to serve the educational needs, I believe, of all children, including special needs children. And I think the best way to solve some of those issues is to work closely as a community, to involve school psychologists, school speech therapists. They do a tremendous job. Work closely with SEPTA, and work with the parents. This is really a situation where all stakeholders need to be involved. We need parents, we need educators, we need district personnel, and even the PTA, Syosset Council of PTA, and students. Everybody's a partner in this. And I think if we work together and we work towards a common goal, I believe we'll be able to be successful. So I'm definitely a big believer in focusing our efforts on working as a community to solve some of these issues.
Thank you very much. Okay, next, Ms. Koshia. We're ready to hear from you. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Please.
Okay.
Thank you.
How would you advocate for children who learn differently? What are your ideas to bring new opportunities and support to benefit all children?
Okay. First of all, Syosset is a district with various types of learners. We do a fabulous job right now, I believe, in catering to the needs of all of these learners. We have exceptional programs that have already been implemented at the different levels, elementary, middle, and at the high school. I think what's very important is that we continue to provide programs, educational programs for our teachers so that they can better help their students in the classrooms. I think that's probably the most important thing that we can do. We also need to make sure that our communication between the parents and the teachers remain open, and so that parents can help with the teachers to make decisions for the individual child. Every child is different. So therefore, each child needs individualized programs. I think that it also, I think somebody else had mentioned, which was very important as well, is that we should take the time to do some research and take a look at different programs that may be taking place outside of our district, because we might be able to learn from them. If they have something that's working, we can then take maybe a part of that and implement it into what we're doing in Syosset.
Okay, thank you very much. Lynn?
Hi.
Would you like me to repeat the question for you?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
The role of the board is to advocate for all children, and every child is different. They fall along different areas of learning spectrum. They respond to different types of learning. Discussion and dialogue is always helpful in assessing what people need. There's always room. Syosset has a great support system and programs in place to support social emotional learning and educational needs, but there's always room for growth, and the growth will come from us talking to the teachers and SEPTAs and the families that are involved in the programs and seeing what they need. Open communication is the key to all growth and progress in these in the school system. So that's where I think that we can do the most and advocate the best.
Okay, thank you. Brian?
Thank you, Kimberly.
Question?
No, I think I've got it.
Okay, thank
How
you.
would I advocate for children that learn differently? Heavily and absolutely. I don't know of a more important question and a more important issue, right? That's why we're all here. We have a $250 million budget. Like Dr. Sharma said, like that's a $250 million. And the role of the district, the most important and critical role of the district is the children, their learning and their ability to graduate and go off to college or to go off and start their lives. So how I'd advocate is I'd make sure every dollar that's needed for teaching our children, and I understand different learning. I've got 4 children, and that is just a tiny microcosm of what goes on in this district. And I do nothing more than advocate for that issue. I'll tell you quickly, I've spent a few years now trying to learn the technology that is used throughout the 10 buildings, obviously mostly at elementary school and middle school, but I have spent a lot of time at the high school level, whether it not just necessarily the online learning, but I'm talking about the technology used in the classroom. And these are things that need to be managed and need to be focused on. It's the future. It's the way these kids are learning. The Math Alex program in 7th grade is not the be all end all for every 7th grader. And that is a tremendous focus. It's a wonderful question. I'm happy to answer it, but yes, that is to me as critical an issue as there can be. My ideas, and how to support this, I think she just went from 1 minute to 30 seconds. So I'm gonna either be on delay or do my best to finish this answer. So my ideas for supporting all children. Look, like Lynn said, we are here for all children. That is the reason we're running. That is the purpose of the school board. I will 100% stand by that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to the next question. And the first person to answer, Dr. Sharma, that will be you. Okay. If elected, what are some core issues you would like to focus on?
So one of the most important things for me right now is to make sure we can get a safe and completely full in-person return to instruction. I think the virtual learning is detrimental to students' social and emotional well-being, as well as their educational needs. So that is the highest priority for me, but we have to do it safely. And there's a lot of research and a lot of data coming out. And I currently serve as the incident commander at my hospital for the last year on the COVID response. So I'm very well versed in all of this and be happy to contribute my knowledge to the board and to the school management team so that we can get those kids back into their classes. Second, as we mentioned multiple times, the board, the current budget is a significant dollar amount. We need to make sure that we are good stewards of these resources. We need to make sure that dollars are allocated towards the right sources and that they're not being frittered away. I just noticed in the most recent budget, we had a significant increase in contract costs, over $1 million in increases. So things like that, we would want to make sure that the dollars are being directed towards where they need to be. People are happy to pay their taxes when it's going to the right place. When money is wasted, everyone gets angry. So I think that's an important element. And then third is developing the curriculum to continue to produce highly educated students who can compete in today's world. It's a very competitive marketplace. Some of them go on to college, some of them go on to other avenues, but we want them all to be contributing and productive members of society. That's our goal as parents and our goal as a school board, as well as a community. So those would be my 3 highest priorities, and working on that 3rd priority with the board, developing curriculum, advancing the curriculum, new ways of educating our students and new ways of testing so that we don't rely on these old, many of the older techniques, and keeping ahead of the curve so that our students have the best that technology has to offer.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lieberman, if elected, what are some core issues you want to focus on?
So, first I just want to say that there should be really praise for the way the school board and Dr. Rogers has kept the schools open for the most part. I think there's only been a day that's been down the entire year, and I got to give a lot of credit towards that. Obviously, I do believe getting the high schools back at 100% is critical, but we need to do so in a safe way for the kids, a safe way for the teachers, and a safe way for the entire community. So that being said, I think we need to follow the data. So I do believe the pandemic is still the #1 core issue. However, recently there's been a big uptick in hate crimes, particularly against the Asian community. And I can speak from experience from a business partner of mine who just recently moved out of Brooklyn, and it's not limited to Brooklyn, and he moved over to Jersey to get away from this area. I think we have to, and I think we've done a great job educating our community, and we have to be vigilant, and we have to be strong, and we have to make sure that we do everything we can to stop hatred against any sect, denomination, disability, I can name them all, origin, race, religion, sexual orientation. I can go on and on, sexual orientation. But this is the one thing I love about this community. And I think we do a really, really good job over here. So some of the core things are definitely safety. And safety definitely involves making sure that we teach people about hatred.
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman.
Sure.
Ms. Koshia, if elected, what are some of the core issues you want to focus on?
Okay. I think the 3 core issues at this point would be, first and foremost, education. I think that the educational needs of our children, especially this year, coming back from a year like no other year. My son was actually a 2020 graduate, and we had, we went through a lot with him being a senior, and all of a sudden, as well as my other 2 children, hopping on virtual classes, and the teachers and the students not knowing what this was all about and kind of learning as they went on. And I think that getting the kids back into school in September safely, like everybody wants our kids to be safe, but get them back safely, have the teachers prepared to deal with any of the social or educational or emotional challenges that might come around. So I think definitely educational needs is one core issue, possibly implementing new technology programs. But also another thing we have to think about too is diversity and teaching our children, educating our children about the differences amongst all of us. We have different family backgrounds, we have different religions, we have different ethnicities. We look different, we sound different. So it's something important to educate our children so that they can learn to accept everyone for who they are. And I think the third, and not like last but not least, kind of is the budget, because obviously we are all concerned about how much money the district is spending and where they are spending it. I think we as a board should look at the current spending and see where we can, not so much cutting any of the programs that we currently have, but we have to take a look and see where can we make cuts that aren't going to affect the excellent education that we're already providing for our students. So I think that those would be the 3 core issues to look at. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lynn,
Hi.
your turn.
I agree. The most important issue is getting back the kids to school in a very safe and healthy way, full time, addressing all the social and emotional issues and educational issues that have been going on. Inclusivity and diversity is always something we should look at and take note of. Dr. Rogers has spoken of the Diversity and Inclusivity Task Force, and I think that maybe that should play a larger role in how we do our curriculum, our community, our professional development. It's very important. It enriches our students' lives and our lives to learn about other cultures. Transparency and fiscal responsibility are paramount in this day and age, and it builds trust between the community and the board and the school district. And the more transparent we are and the more we discuss what's going on, the more that people will get on board or form more educated opinions. So those are the main issues, I believe.
Thank you, Lynn. Brian?
So my core issues, again, I agree with everyone. To open the schools 100% and do it safely. And, you know, the corollary to that is now to focus on what has always been an issue, right? Social and emotional well-being of children, but now to figure it out with this new unknown, which is how are the kids handling everything that's happened. I'm not sure how we're all handling everything that's been happening the last year and a half. So you can only imagine what it's doing to children. You know, I've seen it just when they came back to soccer. You know, the energy was incredible. It's like people hadn't been outside for months. So I think that is a separate focus within social and emotional issues. I've spent too much time reading about it, and it's daunting. Another core issue for me is just giving a voice to more people. I was lucky enough to get to chair on council a committee called the Parent Resource Group, and we focused on trying to make the Syosset School District's website more accessible to everyone. If someone needs something, how to find it, how to know about this, you know, YouTube. So I think the only way to really and adequately give everyone a voice in this community is to disseminate information, transparency. Everyone's talking about transparency tonight. 100% agree. We just got to focus on it and figure out the best way to do it for the entire community. And lastly, you know, money, right? I mean, it's a big budget, and, you know, I spend my days, you know, people use fiscal responsibility and efficiency with money, but, you know, I'm a financial restructuring attorney. What does that mean? It means I help businesses squeeze as much money that they can to use. And that's what I'd want to help, you know, this district do. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Shawnee, we're ready to hear from you.
Thank you. The core issues, the first is the safety of our children, both physically, emotionally, and socially. And I think it's important that we don't assume all children are okay, but we need to check on each children to make sure that they're not affected in a very serious way and being hidden under something. So safety of our children is right now, that is the core issue for everybody. And another issue that I would like to see and focus on is diversity of teachers. My second son, when he was in elementary school, he came home and he said, "I want to be a teacher, Mommy." I said, "Okay, that's a great idea." 1 week later, he came back and he said, "Mommy, I don't want to be a teacher anymore." I said, "Why?" He said, "I don't want to be a gym teacher." He didn't see a role model in school. He didn't think that he could be a school teacher, elementary school teacher, because he did not like gym. It reflects what they see, reflects how they perceive. And third is our school mission statement, actually, which is to prepare students to thrive in both the future we imagine and one which may evolve in ways yet to be envisioned. So in order to prepare our children for the future that we are yet to be envisioned, what should we do to prepare them? I think the core value is the same throughout all generations, throughout all culture. May build strong sense of identity, integrity, humility, confidence, respect for others, open-mindedness, strong work ethics, and ability to forgive oneself and others. And I would like to see that put in place. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for your responses up to this point. We're going to move into the next question, and the first person to answer this will be to you, Mr. Lieberman. And so the question is, what are your thoughts on the proposed Stillwell field purchase?
So Kimberly, yeah, I've been actively involved in this process since 2017. In 2017, let me just go back and say I've been coaching on these fields since probably 2009. I've seen the worst of these fields. I've seen ditches. I've seen, stings by bees, lack of restroom facilities. I've seen bikers nearly get, run over by cars. I've seen, unfortunately, our nature's preserve, which is right there, almost get affected by this. And it was really upsetting because our kids deserve better. Our kids in this community put a lot of time into after school sports. So in 2017, while I was stuck in the midst of a traffic jam, when I say stuck in a traffic jam, there was one-way traffic going both ways and nobody could move. I started a Facebook group and I started the movement to get this done. I reached out to Josh Lafazan. We had a dialogue, and I'm very proud to see it on, the vote for May 18th. There's a lot that can be done. There's a lot that can be done with these fields. We need these fields. Syosset Schools is probably one of the third or fourth largest school on Nassau County. We're one of the largest schools in the country, in the state, sorry. We really need these fields. And I think to get these fields at $1 and to utilize some of the contributions from the local not-for-profit organizations really reduces those fees. But the big question is how you build them. The big question is, don't think about 2021, 22, 23. Think 10 years down the road. Build these fields like you want your grandchildren to play on these fields. So I'm definitely supportive of the process. I just want to make sure it's done right. And the last thing I want to say is I want to make sure that we get input from all of the special interest groups, everybody, nature's people, the people with soccer, lacrosse, baseball, but I do support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Koshia, what are your thoughts on the proposed Stillwell field purchase?
Okay. My thoughts on the proposed Stillwell field purchase, I have 2 out of my 3 kids who my son went through the entire Syosset soccer club program. He played for years. And I have my youngest who's in 7th grade who is currently doing the Syosset soccer program. And so we have been back and forth to Stillwell fields on a weekly basis throughout the seasons. And, it definitely needs help. It is definitely, like Mitch said, it's definitely a dangerous situation if you've ever been there with the fields themselves. Kids frequently get injured on the fields. The driving pathways that they have and walking pathways are very dangerous for both the children and for, onlookers, pedestrians. So there definitely needs to be something done. I think that we are given the opportunity right now to do something about it. But I think that we have to be very smart in what decisions we make if the vote does pass from the residents. If the residents do vote yes, I think we have to be very careful as to the decisions that we make going forward. The decisions being how it's actually structured through the architectural plans. I think we should get input from the groups that use it on a weekly basis, pretty much throughout the year. I think we should also get input from the community members as to what they would want to see and what would be useful to them, especially for the people that don't have children that are currently using the district right now. Those who have children that have graduated that will be using the fields for other purposes. Maybe they're going to use the walking field that's around the perimeter of the fields, or whatever the case may be. We definitely need community input. And I think that we definitely need to have more transparency than what's been happening so far. I know plenty of neighbors that didn't even know that this was even a proposition, that it was even going to be on the budget vote, and that's not okay. I think we could do better as a board to make sure that more people are aware of such big investments like this would be. The purchase price is low, but I do think that we need to be aware of the benefits in the future of what having this renovated area would do for us as a community and for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Lynn, would you like me to repeat the question?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Still, as everyone said, Stillwell, it definitely needs work. It is definitely dangerous, even if you just look at the parking and not let alone the fields. It is a big opportunity for us to purchase this. My concern is always, if we don't take this opportunity and they're looking to get rid of it, would another school district take it? Will we lose any access to it? We can control what happens when it's in Syosset School District's control. It does need way more transparency. And I think, like Lisa said, there was discussions that people were not getting. And maybe the thought is someone had at the Stillwell meeting the other night mentioned an opt-in on our on the school district website where people can get information, even if they're not students within the school district, so that the community knows what's going on. There must be creative and responsible spending on it. Long-term benefits from short-term spending. Are we looking at solar lighting for the parking lots? Are we thinking that just because this costs this much money now, look at the long-term benefit of owning the land? So I think that it's an excellent opportunity that we have to keep taking. And I hope that we continue to do it in a very transparent and obvious way.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Now we're ready to hear from you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as a coach who spends a tremendous amount of time on that field, I know full well how bad that field is. And I'm literally one of those coaches that's out there with my kids, and it's dangerous. It's unacceptable. And, this opportunity obviously looks promising, but, there's a couple of things that I would have liked to have seen done differently, like Lisa mentioned, a lot of people didn't know about this, and that's a problem. We need better communication. I was reading early on about $2 million that was pledged to be used for the fields. And it wasn't until I dug a little deeper that I realized that was money that was pledged irrespective of this project. So it's those kind of things that I just wish there was a little bit more transparency, so we could all go into May 18th, with a real understanding of what we're voting for. And I'll give you a great example. The agreement itself, right, for $1 for 35 acres in Syosset, that's a no-brainer to anyone. However, no one's seen the contract. So, I actually foiled the contract from the school district because I do a lot of these land deals and I wanted to read it and I wanted to understand a little bit more. I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job as a candidate or as a board member, of course, and really digging into, what Nassau County is selling us, but it's still so desperate for repair. And there is such a risk that this could get sold to someone else. It could be developed by someone else. And you know what, having the control, where we can improve security, we can focus on safety, that ridiculous parking lot, that unbelievable. I think Dr. Rogers said 3 left turns at a time. I don't know where else. I don't get that in Manhattan. So it's a difficult choice, and we're all going to vote on it on May 18th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shawnee, we're ready. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, it's okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So yesterday I had a chance to be at the meeting, and we had children come up and speak to all those people. There were 4, 5 children coming up, advocating themselves of how much they need this field. They melted my heart. There was a 7-year-old coming up, speaking so eloquently. I think he spoke better than me. He was amazing. They were so amazing. And the way they presented, how they wished they had better fields, and explained all the situations so well. If anybody was there, we would have just given up our houses to make them their fields. I wanted to go out by lottery so I can get that $5.5 million so that we can give to that children. It was amazing. And that kind of just shows what kind of education our district is providing. So I'm very proud of that. I was so proud of them. I can't even imagine their parents listening to that. Anyway, I believe what is more important is if the proposition passes, we need to work together, getting the project started and finishing in a timely manner, and also to try to raise funds, maybe from outside the district. I mean, Amazon is spending $7 billion in New York. They donated $1.75 million to Syracuse STEM School. So can we get some of that money, $7 billion? And if it doesn't pass, are we going to be just done with this project? Are we going to throw our hands up and say, well, we tried? Our children, fact of the matter is our children need fields that are better. Then what can we do to provide that? So I believe we need to focus on what we are trying to achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shawnee. Dr. Sharma, you're ready?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay.
So clearly no one thinks that the field should be left as is. Everyone agrees that we need to improve those fields. Our children use them, whether they're Syosset School District or any other team sport, they're using these fields. The question that creates the controversy is whether the school district should be responsible for the fields. And I think it's hard sometimes for people, they see the amount attached to this project. I've been involved with a lot of high dollar projects. And what happens is 10 years after you do a project, you realize, wow, we're really glad we did that. Because if it's not until you see the full benefit of your investment that you can sometimes appreciate what you're getting out of it. So given that our school district is growing, given that athletics are an important part of the education platform, I think it will behoove the school district to have the space, to have the control over the space. But to everybody else's point, it has to be done properly. It has to be done transparently. There has to be input from all the stakeholders. And we have to do this on time, on scope, and on budget. That's the important part. So if I'm elected to the board, that would be a focus of mine, would be making sure that we do it in a transparent manner, that we listen to the stakeholders, so we don't put together one person's vision of the fields, and that we also have a commitment to doing this the right way. Thanks, Kimberly.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to continue with questions. And the next question, Ms. Koshia, you will answer first, please. In your opinion, what are some upcoming challenges facing your district?
Okay, in my opinion, I think the one big challenge that we have, which is pretty much right in front of us, and will be here before we know it, is the reopening of schools in September. I think that it poses a very big challenge because the data changes on a daily basis. We're still learning about COVID. So as time goes on, we wait to hear instructions from, the government to the state government to our schools as to what we can and can't do, what we should and shouldn't do. So I think that's one of the big problems that we're looking towards, is the fact that opening our schools in September, what are we going to be facing? What are the children going to be facing? The teachers going to be facing? I think that's going to be the biggest challenge that's ahead of us at this point.
Thank you. Lynn, you'll respond to the question next.
I guess I agree with Lisa, and I think most of the people on this panel have been saying all night, the immediate issue, the most important issue is getting everyone back safely, addressing all of the social, emotional, and educational needs that have come about from the past year and a half, whether you were remote or in school. There was a lot of loss. We have to figure out how to come back from it. Diversity and inclusivity continue to be an issue. Mitch said there's been an increase in hate, and we have seen it in the news. We must continue to address that and create an environment that's inclusive and accepting and celebrates our differences in this world. And I think those are the two most immediate issues coming at us today.
Thank you, Lynn. Brian?
So, I mean, I hate to agree with everyone on something like this, but look, it's the elephant in the room. And you know what, the way I try to break this down in my head, what COVID's doing, we got to reopen safely. We've got to deal with the social and emotional challenges that exist in general, but that now are going to exist in a different and unknown way. And then we got to deal with the educational component. Kids are learning online, kids are learning in school. Some children, March, April, May, June, went on every single day and may have kept up, some may not have. You have testing that is not happening. You just have so many changes that a district like Syosset, where it has run smoothly for a long time, when you speak to people that went here and you speak to young graduates now, they've had a wonderful system, and this has thrown that off, and it's thrown it for a loop, and it needs to be addressed. And it's not going to get addressed tomorrow, and it's not going to get addressed a year from now. It may not get addressed at the end of the 3-year term that we're all running for, but it's got to be our focus, and it's going to be a challenge, no question. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Shawnee?
I agree with everybody. Reopening is a big challenge, but I have full confidence that our administration, our teachers and parents will work together to make it safe and make best decision. And diversity also is a big challenge, but that will also, when we work together, we'll resolve it. But we always had challenges. Before COVID, we were talking about high school late opening. Before that, it was something else. We always had challenges that we faced. And I believe it is our coming together to work together with the same goal that we can resolve these challenges, answer and find solutions for these challenges. I mean, we have children who are very, very smart. When I listen to their research presentation, I wonder why we still have cancer, why we still have potholes. They would have been, if we kept them back for a couple more years, they would have been fixed. And I believe we have very smart parents. If all of us work together for the same goal, all these challenges, I'm sure we'll have no problems resolving. Thank you.
Thank you, Shawnee. Dr. Sharma?
So I agree with everybody. The biggest problem facing our schools is the biggest problem facing this country, which is COVID-19. And how do we get back to a new normal? And what will that new normal look like? So there are a lot of layers to that answer. And we talk about getting kids back in person. That's first and foremost, and getting them back in person safely. But then there are kids who've been fully virtual for a year. And what's their level of anxiety going to be going back into a classroom with 25 kids? Are we prepared for that? What are we doing? What are we going to do this summer to prepare for that? Our terms start July 1st, so we can be active on the board to help the district prepare for that September return. That's also in communication with parents, communications with the students, and also in preparation with any kind of special support that we think will benefit these students in the school buildings. So this might be quiet rooms. It could be additional resources for social workers or psychologists as counselors. So there's a lot that's going to happen over the next few months if we're going to go back to a full in-person instruction. So those are the challenges that we have to face. Now, I'm going to bifurcate my answer a little bit because in addition to COVID, one thing we've also seen is that society has become very polarized. And we've gotten into this model of groupthink, which is really detrimental to our nation as a whole. So the education system is responsible for putting out independent thinkers. That's what America is known for. It's for ingenuity, creativity, hard work, and diligence. And this is where the school has an opportunity now to help develop the next generation of adults by helping them learn to think for themselves and helping them to take a step away from social media and all of the background noise and evaluate information from reliable sources to come up with solutions and conclusions that are appropriate and not fall into this groupthink mentality. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Mr. Lieberman?
Yeah, so I don't want to discount reopening. That's very important, but I want to talk about a couple of other things. I want to talk about the long-lasting emotional, the emotional response to what these kids have gone through and the parents have gone through. You know, I've spoken to a lot of people and I've spoken to friends who have special needs children. And you know, from talking to them, I truly believe that the special needs children were disproportionately affected during this pandemic, you know, and not only were the special needs kids disproportionately affected, but think about the typical regular kid. I mean, being isolated from their friends, you know, led to a culture of video games, just sitting at home, not knowing what to do. The school psychologists are going to be needed more than ever. We're really going to have to work on getting people not just back to school in person, but getting them back to the emotional health the way it needs to be. You know, the second thing I want to talk about is finance. You know, we live in a very affluent, town over here. And, you know, let's not forget how many people were affected financially by this. So we really have to be very smart with our spending. We need a lot. We have a lot of needs in Syosset, clearly, but we have to do this in a smart way. We have to make sure that we do it in a responsible way. And I think those two things, I think if we focus on the emotional and the financial, I think we're really going to be in good shape because those are things that are going to be important moving forward.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lieberman. Okay, so we're going to go down to our final question for the evening before we move into closing statements. Many of you have already began talking about, like you said, the big elephant in the room, the pandemic. And so your community would like to know, what are your thoughts regarding, and some of you, again, you talked about it a little bit, but if you can talk about it a little bit more, what are your thoughts regarding hybrid versus in-person learning, as well as mask mandates? And I'm sorry, and Lynn, we're going to start with you.
This is a extraordinarily difficult question. Can you just repeat the first part again? Sorry,
yes. What are your thoughts regarding hybrid versus in-person learning, as well as mask mandates for students?
there is no there's no replacement for in-school learning. Hybrid learning kept in the high school did keep our community in school longer. Watching other children go out of the 6 to the 3 fit model and in school full time, but being quarantined at 30 kids at a time also puts a strain on your educational progress. So I think that SIASA made excellent decisions to keep our community safe and to minimize the amount of quarantines that they would have. So they put really the children and the staff first in all their decisions. I think they did listen to science. And as things started to open up again, we got more sports back. We got more celebrations back. But I do have to commend how they handled this year. Mask mandates. Also, these are very personal things for me and my family. My children wearing masks inside at school kept them in school. They became okay with it. I know other children had a lot of issues with it. It's never easy, but the choices that SIASA made, I think they made for the benefit of the staff, of the faculty, of the teachers, and of the children, and to keep them in school as much as possible. And I think that they listened to science and will go forward listening to science and progress as we move forward.
Thank you very much, Lynn. Brian?
So on hybrid learning versus in-person learning, I think from what I've read, and I feel like I spend far too much time learning about this stuff. I think it's another no-brainer, right? It's, the kids are better off in school, and the question is how to do that safely. The district's done a wonderful job. Obviously, we've got 9 of our buildings full time, and the high school is obviously hybrid. On day, off day. It's a difficult question because we're relying on our government to tell us what to do. Dr. Rogers, I'm assuming, cannot just come out and say, we're now a 2-foot rule, no masks, and let's burn all the plastic. Well, that would be a problem in and of itself. But the point is, we're bound to listen to the government and do what we think is best. We've been conservative. We were very conservative early on, going with a 3-pronged approach of the plastic, the masks, and 6 feet. But as we learn more, the district's going to make decisions in line with what the government tells us. I can't tell you whether or not I support following the government or not. I think we have no choice. We've got to follow what the government tells us. As for the mandates themselves, I think we're going towards a world now where a lot of people are going to wear masks for a really long time in a lot of places. And I can't say I will or won't yet. I don't know what the world's going to be like in a year, but I think the school's going to follow what the government tells us, and we're going to make a decision based on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Shawnee?
Okay, so my youngest one is fully virtual due to personal decision that we had to make. And I must tell you that I am very pleasantly surprised at how well it is running. It is very tricky. I am amazed how all these different aspects just came together and worked really well for my experience. Being hybrid, again, in my experience with my older one and the second one, I think it actually helped him. We were talking about delayed high school opening. It gave him more time to sleep. It gave on every other day. So I don't think it's all bad. I don't know whether we should just impose our ideas to everybody. I think for those who work, I think we need to understand and listen to what worked so that we can make it better. And actually there was one incident from a friend of mine. She was all virtual, was Googling something, And the authorities, they found it and helped the child and changed the outcome of what could have happened. So there are things that are very beneficial. And of course, for in person, whoever wants to come in person, I hope that we will have enough space for all those people who want to come in person. And in terms of mask mandate, as a health professional, I know the value of the guidelines from the CDC and how they come to that conclusion. I mean, they're professionals calculating the risks, right? And it's also being a good neighbor. Put the mask on to protect not just yourself, but your neighbor.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Dr. Sharma?
So it's a great question. Certainly for young learners, the hybrid environment is probably not as conducive to learning, although some individuals might find it acceptable, than in-person instruction would be. I emailed Dr. Rogers back in March of last year when we went to full virtual about the importance of discussion. Discussion is the cornerstone of learning. And what we see is that in a virtual environment, we've seen just tonight, I forgot to unmute myself. So I could be part of the discussion because I didn't unmute myself. So, and then if you miss the opportunity to say something, now it's not as relevant 30 seconds later. So it's that intimacy, that immediacy that only happens in person. So certainly I think I would be a strong advocate for in-person instruction to the extent that we can do it. With regards to mask wearing, this is a great question. So the science right now supports mask wearing. We hosted a vaccine pod at my hospital a few weeks ago. We invited Syosset students to come get vaccinated. The goal for that is to reduce our fear of the virus and then transmission. The kids are not at risk. It's the kids' parents and the kids' grandparents. And as many have said tonight, we've seen tremendous loss this past year. So we'll follow the science. It won't be up to the school whether to wear a mask or not. It'll be up to the CDC. CDC recommendations will come out. The New York State Department of Health will put out the mandates for the school districts. They're not making these decisions independently. All these decisions are made at a higher level and are made across the state as a whole and certainly across the nation. So whether states participate or not, we'll see. New York has been very strongly advocating to follow the CDC guidelines. And I think that if we talk about a mask mandate, it's going to come from the government, as Brian mentioned, and not from the Syosset School District, not from Dr. Rogers, certainly not from the board.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lieberman?
Sorry. So first I want to say, when last March 2020 came and we were thrust into this for the first time in modern history, I've never seen a quicker reaction, than what the schools did. And I would say not just our schools, but we were definitely much quicker to get things rolling than a lot of the city schools. I think we did an enormous job, and the teachers should be definitely applauded for all the work they had to do in making this happen, in the school district and board and Dr. Rogers. That being said, there's no question in my mind that in-person learning, when it's safe for the kids, when it's safe for the teachers, is where we want to be. I have a young son who's 7 years old, and my older kids are 13 and 16. And clearly there was a difference between the learning because they're all three different individuals. They have three different needs. And I felt like the youngest one was having a much more difficult time, sitting in front of a computer and learning. It's just an attention span thing. So I think we really have to be sensitive to the needs of the teachers and kids. There are going to be people that are apprehensive, going back into full-time learning, and there's also going to be people that are apprehensive when we decide to take off the masks, finally, when enough people are vaccinated. And I hope Brian's wrong with what he said. And I do believe at some point we are going to take off those masks, but it's going to be a process, so I'm definitely for following the science, making sure that it's safe. That's got to be our number one concern. And as far as kids with special needs as well, check in with SEPTA, have some conversations, because we also know that there are some kids with special needs that have a lot of issues with masks, and they were effectively forced into hybrid learning situations. So we have to handle this as a community.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ms. Koshia.
Thank you. First of all, this is such a personal question, and it affects everybody in a very different way. And there's so many different levels to it. But in general, my thoughts on hybrid versus in-person learning is that in-person learning is definitely the way to go as far as education. I have 3 children. My son at the college level, who is doing primarily online learning and having a very difficult time with it. My daughter, who's in the high school with the hybrid learning, and she's also having a very difficult time with it. She definitely loves being in the classroom. She loves the social part of it. She loves to be able to get the teacher's attention face to face, as opposed to doing the side chatting on the Chromebooks. So it's been a very difficult year and a half for my 2, but my 3rd one, my middle school 7th grader, last year was thriving being online. She actually loved it and it worked very well for her. So the reason why I'm telling you that is because every child is different. It depends on how they learn. And so in my opinion, in-person learning is definitely better than the hybrid. However, the hybrid is what allowed us to continue to have the kids somewhat back into a normal learning situation when September of 2020 was upon us. I would say that, of course, our first priority for this September is safety, getting our kids back safely, using science, like everybody else had said, science, what medicine, what the research is showing, and what is safe for our kids. As far as mask mandates, also a very personal question. My children are all okay wearing the masks, but then again, some children are not. They are very distracting to some children. So I think, unfortunately, I think we will be stuck with masks for a period of time, but we will have to use whatever data that we can compile to make our school safe for our children to learn in.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. So many questions, or few questions, but a lot of good thoughts coming from all of you on the questions. And thank you so much for taking the time to answer them as you have. And so now we're going to move into our closing statements. And each of you will have 3 minutes to give your closing statement. And we're going to begin in reverse order from how we started. So, Lynn, you're going to be first for the closing statements.
Thank you. Thank you to Nassau County PTA and Syosset Council of PTAs for putting this night together, and to all those in the community for joining us. I've lived in Syosset for the past 13 years. My husband and I have grown our family here. We are involved in sports, in the schools, and the PTA. I sat on and eventually chaired the board at the early childhood center my children attended. Taking an active role in the community is something I strongly believe in, and I hope to have the opportunity to continue doing so as a member of this esteemed board. In my professional life, I'm fortunate to have both a business career and have worked in early childhood development. Working in product development taught me the importance of being fiscally responsible, of innovation, of creativity, and how to effectively combine these things for success. Working with younger children helped remind me that creativity, curiosity, and having a growth mindset should be the focus of all of us, no matter what our age is. I believe my background and experiences will bring an important perspective to the difficult decisions the board has to make. At the start of this process, I chose my running mates because we all bring something unique to the table. Dr. Rob Sharma's medical and large-scale budget experience, combined with Mitch Lieberman's entrepreneurial experience and leadership, and my community involvement and professional experience provide a well-rounded ticket. Each of us brings something different, some new thoughts, perspective, with aligned goals to bring about positive outcomes. To serve on the Board of Education would be a tremendous honor. Our kids and teachers need to get back to learning, keeping their physical and emotional health at the forefront. We have to strive for continued innovation and growth for all our learners. As opportunities continue to arise, we need to make sure the process is open to the public and full of honest discussion and debate. I believe I have a strong skill set that can help further round out the dynamic board, and I have a passion and drive to do what I can for all the children of the district. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your faith in me. Please make sure to get out and vote on May 18th. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Ms. Koshia?
Thank you. A Board of Education member has many important responsibilities. The most important responsibility is to advocate for the best interests of the students in their district. As I stated earlier, we hold ourselves to a standard of excellence here in Syosset. We have a strong foundation and we need to continue to build up on it. That is only done with teamwork. We need a board who welcomes open communication and input from the parents, schools, and our members of the community who do not have children utilizing the education services. Being a teacher and seeing my own kids go through this system, I realize how imperative it is to have someone looking out for our students' best interests. When we return to school this fall, teachers and students will be faced with challenges on many levels, academically, socially, and emotionally. My experiences as a teacher will allow me to ask the important questions and offer relevant input. As our district expands and grows and we continue to do necessary construction and improvements, my knowledge in reading and understanding architectural plans or drawings, as well as figuring out a budget for a specific project, will be a useful tool for this board. Gathering information, collaborating, asking questions, and making decisions is what is the recipe for productive leadership. I believe that my unique skill set, both in education and in expediting real estate and construction fields, allow me to do just that. And I just wanted to take the time to say thank you to everyone who was involved in putting this Know the Candidate forum together tonight. Thank you. And also thank you to anyone who's at home who is still awake and with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Mr. Lieberman?
So I'm going to continue along my lines of ripping up my closing speech as well, because I ripped up the opening speech and I think it worked okay. In all honesty, I think what we have here in the ticket between myself, Rob Sharma, and Lynn Abramson is really what the board needs. I really think we bring in a wonderful background in different areas, and we really complement each other well. Aside from the fact that honestly, they're warm and caring people, and they're my kind of people. I really enjoy our conversations. I think we have a lot of challenges ahead of us. I think a lot of the communities do. And it's really important at this time to have strong leadership in place. And while I respect and admire, and I got to tell you that the amount of volunteer work and time that this board put into this crisis is like nothing else ever seen. And the fact that they were able to keep the schools open, if you would have said in July that these schools are going to open and stay open, I don't even know if we shut down a day. Maybe there was a day that was shut. Incredible job. So I'm not looking to say that people aren't doing a great job. I really think they are, but I think that we can add value. I know I can add value in a lot of ways that are different from what the current board members, can offer. And I strongly believe in working as a community. Like I said, as the baseball president, Brian was talking about 9 people on a board, and I was kind of like laughing to myself because I know the challenges in unity. We have 24 people on the board, and we have a lot of different committees, and there's always challenges, but we strongly believe that we're successful. And the reason baseball is so successful and we have so many families involved is because we stay unified. And as a board member, one thing I'll do is I will listen. I've actually been trolled like probably so many others of our candidates over here. And, I had to make a decision whether I was going to stay silent or whether I was going to answer the trolls. And you know what I said? I'm going to be who I am, and I'm going to respond. I may not care about their side of the street, whether they're being fair or not. But I'm going to give the answers anyway. And that's what I believe in. I believe in transparency. You know, I have an acronym that you know, I put forth, I created with the baseball board, and that's staying on track. You know, transparency, respect, appreciation, communication, and kindness. If you bring those 5 qualities to the board and you're honest, I think it's going to be a big success. So I would certainly appreciate everybody's vote for myself, Mitch Lieberman, to the board, and my running mates as well, Rob Sharma and Lynn Abramson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lieberman. And Dr. Sharma?
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
You know, it's great. We live in a vibrant and robust community. And just look at the number of candidates who've stepped up to volunteer their time to be a member of the board, right? And this is at a time where the board is going to face some of its greatest challenges, as we've heard, as our nation goes through some of its greatest challenges. And I do think that we've all heard that the biggest challenges is return to school and COVID-19, and how those two interplay with each other. So certainly I feel strongly, given my background, I have a unique perspective on this, and I bring a unique skill set to the board. The board is typically made up of community members, engaged parents, but it's not common that you see people with significant leadership experience as well as large budgetary experience. And so partnering with my running mates, Mitch and Lynn, I'm hoping that we bring a really balanced ticket to this election, and feel strongly that the 3 of us can provide to the board the guidance and leadership that will help our students thrive and continue to do well. Just to give you a sense of my background, one other sentence, when I originally wanted to go to medical school, my thought was to become a pediatrician. And so I majored in child psychology. And the level of anxiety we're going to be dealing with in the next few months in the fall is going to be a major issue. So the schools need to be prepared for that. I want to bring all of those skill sets to bear to help our children, help our community, and to help the school continue to be a beacon of strength. This is a very strong school district. We want to keep it a strong school district, and we want to just keep getting better every day. Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sharma. Shani,
Thank you.
your time. Thank you.
It is an honor to share this stage with 5 candidates tonight. I'm truly inspired by all of their dedication and willingness to serve. Making the decision to run is a hard one. Before I announced my candidacy, I had a family meeting with my husband and our 3 boys, and with their blessing, I entered the election. And I am proud of myself for being one of the candidates who made the commitment to be here tonight and willing to make whatever sacrifice might be necessary for the good of our community. Talking to Brian and Lisa and working together, it's been amazing experience, just getting to know them and sharing their expertise, listening to what they have to offer. It has been a tremendous experience just up to this point. E pluribus unum, out of many one. This is what I wish to see in our community. We are living in a time of constant change. The world is getting smaller. We can travel to most of the country, most of the globe within 24 hours. We can reach even the most remote area within seconds via the internet. Our children are already defining neighbors very differently than we do. They have friends that they have never met, whom they see on playing games in the other side of the world, and they call them friends. If our children do not know how to find common grounds and work with people from all different backgrounds and with all different skills, their worlds will be a lot smaller than their peers, and their opportunities will be limited. Celebrating unity is no longer optional, but it's a requirement. When our children are able to understand others and embrace differences in cultures or tradition, they will increase their knowledge, enlarge their perspective, and develop new levels of empathy toward others. And I believe, as parents, we need to be the example that they can follow. Our children are very fortunate to have the current BOE and administration who are constantly working to improve our children's education. And I will help to take the administration and BOE's work to the next level by closing cultural divides where we find them and by finding common grounds so that we can continue to thrive as a community. I'm not just saying that I think I can do this. I've had experience working with different groups of people from different backgrounds. In my practice, I work with children and parents with different abilities, values, and perspectives. I also have experience in building common grounds from running my church's summer camp. Our camp serves 340 children plus and 40 plus staff members every summer. Running such a large program requires good communication between everyone involved. My experience has taught me that we don't need uniformity. We need unity out of diversity. I've learned that when people work together towards the same goal, our potential is limitless. Now I'm asking you for the chance to put on my experience, work with the Syosset community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brian, the final remarks for your closing statement. Let's go.
I will do everything not to spend 3 minutes right now. So, I mean, look, my goal as a member of the board would be to get as much information as I can, digest it, and try to make the best decisions based on it. I mean, I read every email that the district sends out. I watch all the meetings. I try to analyze everything I can. I mean, if anyone knows, I can't do things halfway. If you've been on my teams before, you know that everything's 100%. That's exactly what I'm going to give to this. You know, I think my background, my experience would be a great asset to the board. I mean, I bring finance, budget, fiscal efficiency, and also my legal practice. I represent boards. I mean, I do bond offerings. I'm doing the kind of work on a day-to-day basis. And I'm also, part of my job is asking just difficult questions, standing up in a room and saying, look, I don't like this and we need to do better. I really, feel like I could add a great value to the existing board. And I'm ready to get started. I also, look, I care about all kids. I mean, I care about my kids, of course, but I mean, I care about all kids. I wouldn't do most of what I do if I didn't. I think we all feel that way. That's why we're doing this. That's why we're giving up our time. But you know what? I have 4 children right now. They're all in school. I'm fully vested in this district, and I'll do whatever I can. And I have to give a shout out to Shani and Lisa. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with them. Seriously, it's the best part of this process. As Mitch mentioned, there's difficult parts of this process, but to talk to them every day has just been a gem. And I thank them both. And you should all go out, vote 125. Thank you very much. Allison, thank you. Alana, thank you. Kimberly and Sonia, thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you. I have to say thank you to all of you, to Sue, to Allison, the whole Syosset School District. On behalf of Nassau Region and our timekeeper, Sonia Dixon, this evening, we thank you for allowing us to share in this time with you. Our time, again, has been well spent this evening. Your school community is very blessed to have all of you as advocates and behind them. So we wish you all the very best on Election Day. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
luck,
you.
everyone.
And I would like to thank everyone for coming out this evening. And I just want to let everyone know that this event will be posted on the Syosset Council of PTA's website. So if people weren't able to hear this evening, they will be able to watch it. So please guide them to our website. And please go out and vote on May 18th. The polls will be open between 6 a.m. and 10 p.m. I'd like to thank all the candidates for their time this evening. This was a lovely forum. We'd like to thank Nassau Region PTA for volunteering their evening this evening. Kimberly and Sonia, we really appreciate it. Susan Parker from the Nassau Region PTA as well. And we thank Alana for all of her hard work. YouTube could be, wasn't working in the beginning of the evening. So thank goodness that technology isn't always the best. So, and we everyone for joining us this evening, but please make sure that everyone lets everyone know if they haven't been able to be here this evening, that it will be posted on our council website. So thank you very much, everyone. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Good luck,
you.
Good
everyone.
night.
Good night.